Alrighty, happy Tuesday, everybody. I'm NBC Connecticut meteorologist Anthony Carpino. We are still keeping a close eye on all of that winter weather that is moving through the state. For some, not so much winter, but just plain old rainfall, especially for the Connecticut shoreline. But there's other parts of the state, northwestern Connecticut, that has remained so far today in the snow. And we've actually seen a couple inches so far recorded in the northwestern corner. So I want to show you guys radar, what we're seeing right now across Connecticut. Of course, the Connecticut shoreline, the I-95 corridor, nothing but rainfall right now. And that's really all they've seen so far today. You might have seen a few flakes earlier this morning, but it didn't last all that long. And that's really started to move further inland for us. And, you know, right now we can take a look at least like the Hartford area. You can see over the last few frames there, that pink has already started to move further to the north. So places like New Britain, Hartford, Windsor, stretching up the 91 quarter up to Enfield, the Massachusetts line, now starting to see some of that mixing. And it's not because our surface temperatures have warmed all that much, because they really haven't. It's a little bit higher off the ground that we're getting just this nose of warmer air, and that has turned things over to more of a sleet. When I left the house earlier this morning, it was sleet in Manchester, and then we're seeing a little bit of accumulation here in West Hartford at the station, but not too much as expected. We're still in that 1 to 3 inch range, but the Hartford area right now, at least, is seeing that a little bit of a mix. So I'm going to take you guys outside, where you can see the view over downtown Hartford right now. There you go. A little bit of a northerly breeze, in fact, and the roads don't look to be all that bad. The folks have been taking their time. However, there's been one accident. If we take you out to our camera, of course, it's iced over a little bit, but this is I-84 in West Hartford. So this is right at the Park Road curve there. This is the westbound side of the highway down to one lane. It looks like they're one lane as the tractor trailer overturned earlier this morning. We saw some video as the tractor trailer was kind of going through. From appearances, it looked like it was going a little fast. The truck didn't look to appear that it got cut off or anything like that. So just hoping everyone is okay there. Let's take you out to the road conditions that we're seeing right now across the state. So as far as any kind of traffic delays, and taking a look at the map there, you can see a lot of pink, so a lot of mixing. You take a look at northwestern Connecticut, that's where we have that gray, that's our snow, but a lot of mixing going on for places like Middletown to Middlefield, Meriden. The airport in Meriden actually earlier just reported a little bit of ice accretion as well. So there has been a little bit of freezing rain to go along with this. So we've seen that so far today, but we'll likely end up seeing that mixing line continue to go a little bit higher in portions of the state there. So looks like we have another accident on 84. This is in the Southington area. Let's see if I can. Sometimes this will work, sometimes it won't. Let's see if I can get the ID. So it's a I-84 eastbound crash right after exit 30 out Water Street there. So the one accident, another accident they reported on I-84. In general, there's that accident in Southington. Of course, there's that tractor trailer crash in West Hartford. But most of the roadways, you look at 95, it's just wet. It's not necessarily frozen. Definitely some more delays looking like on 91 getting closer to Windsor and stretching all the way up through the Enfield area. Of course, the Mass Pike has seen a lot of snow so far today. Back here in home, looks like just your slower commute, slower going there. Places along Route 8, Torrington. We'll take a look at the Litchfield cam here in just a sec. Let's see if I can change that to the Litchfield camera. Just bear with me here for 1 second. And I know we've definitely seen some snow in Litchfield today, too. That camera. Yeah. See if that works. All right, I'm going to attempt to see if I can change the cameras via my phone. So bear with me here. And there we go. Look at that. So this is what we're looking at in Litchfield right now. You can see a little bit of the icy glaze over the camera. The roads definitely look like they've been touched. So that's some good news there. But accumulating snow is the current look out there in Litchfield. So some snowier conditions there. Let's see if I'm able to control that camera. Let's see if I can punch up a different camera here. Let's go outside. Let's try Waterbury. Again, if I can click the right button on my phone. Let's see if that'll work. There we go. So you take a look a little bit further south there in Waterbury, and not too much, if anything at all, in the way of accumulation, but we've definitely seen, you can see it there if you look on the green, a little bit of a whitish glaze to it. So they've been seeing more in the way of that mixed precipitation. I'll take you back outside to the map. What we're seeing right now, at least in the Waterbury area, is that that transition over to a little bit of a mix. What has been really important, and we've mentioned this the last several days, has been temperature. Temperature is so key on a day like today, not only at the ground level, but also, going through the entire column, because it's 30 degrees in Hartford, so that should be snow, right? Well, not in this case. We have a little bit of warm air that is nudging out a little bit higher off the ground. That's why we're seeing some sleet and maybe even some freezing rain, because it's 28 degrees at the airport, Bradley, and they've seen a little bit of accumulation there as well. 29 degrees in Norfolk, but you look at the shoreline, Greenwich, Bridgeport, New Haven, into the mid 30s there, 38 now in Groton, and we are expecting those temperatures to continue to go up. We're going to notice some warmer temperatures, especially for the shore, later on this afternoon. So we've talked about so far what we've seen earlier this morning, what we're looking at now. Let's talk about what we can expect as we go through the next several hours, because, of course, we're going to have another commute later on tonight for folks that are heading back home from work. As we get closer, we're about 1:43 right now, getting closer to 2 o'clock, noticing that rain snow line also moving, further to the north there. So places, I'll try to outline it here. So essentially the 84 corridor and north by 2:30, that rain snow line will continue to work its way further to the north there. Then as we move through about 4 o'clock tonight, so getting closer to that evening commute, we're seeing that transition to mainly rainfall. I will say, however, it has been tough for some spots to get rid of that cooler air. I want to take you to our localized temperatures in the Hartford area, and you can kind of see the difference here. So when you look at Hartford, Farmington, Newington, Avon, Windsor, Windsor Locks, Canton, a lot of places in the Connecticut River Valley, and then you just go off to the side to the Farmington Valley as well. You guys are still stuck into the lower 30s, upper 20s there. So below freezing at the surface, anything that still falls will end up freezing back over, and you'll get sleet or maybe even some freezing rain. However, you go outside of the valley, you get to eastern Connecticut. Take a look at those temperatures for Marlborough, for Hebron, for Coventry, Vernon, Tolland, Somers. Well, Somers is below freezing, but you get the idea, a little bit warmer outside of the valley. So we've had a little bit of cold air damming today, and that has been enough cold air to get just snow, but enough to create that wintry mix. So we've noticed that so far today. Looks like we're getting a couple of reports. So Alex, almost about 2 inches north of BDL. Yes, you guys are right along the Massachusetts border there, so right near Agawam. So, Alex, thanks for that report. Let's see. Billy has a good point here. So it's cold. I'm worried about black ice in the morning. That's a really good point, and this is something that Bob had mentioned earlier this morning as well. If this moisture sticks around a little bit longer, not all that longer, we're not really expecting the winds to kick up all that much later on tonight. So if the ground stays wet, we will cool back to the mid-20s by tomorrow morning. So the potential for black ice in the morning is looking like a real possibility. I had a couple of my friends shoot me a text message and ask, when should I go out and shovel the driveway? And I said, you're going to want to wait until later on today. Of course, we'll notice that transition to rain. So the rain will help melt some of that snow, but you want to wait till that rain is out of here before you put any of that treatment down, because it's just going to get washed out. So I would clear the driveway whenever you get that chance. And then once the rain is over by about 8 or 9 o'clock tonight, that's when I say you go out, you do your driveway. If it is one of those driveways that just kind of stays a little bit wet, if it puddles up in certain spots, the driveway, your driveway, what I'm talking about. So just keep an eye, on that as we kind of go through this afternoon. Never saw anything close to snow in Willimantic, just rain for now. Yeah, eastern Connecticut, Coventry for this particular map is the closest one to Willimantic, but yeah, you guys are already above freezing, so the chance for snow is going to be a little bit more limited. And I'll show you guys the snowfall map. This is what we've had out the last couple of days here. Not much snow expected for areas south of 84. We've tweaked the map a little bit there, but still expecting the bulk of the snow to be in northwestern Connecticut, mainly because that is who is seeing the cold air, not only at the ground, but all the way up. So when you get your snow in the clouds, it's cold from the cloud level all the way to the ground. However, you get to Hartford and it's cold at the cloud level, but it hits a little pocket of warm air, melts the snowflake down, and then the snowflake can either refreeze by the time it hits the ground, that's sleet, or if it doesn't have as much time and it's just still a water droplet and then freezing on contact, that's your freezing rain. So it really depends on kind of where you are around the state there. Sharon says, nothing from Coventry. Oh, you guys are up from Florida, so I know Sharon. Visiting from Florida, it was hoping to see a little snow. I would say go to northwestern Connecticut, Sharon. That's going to be your best bet. Or central Mass, if you guys are trying to do any skiing, any of the spots in Mass, or go up to southern Vermont and New Hampshire if you're trying to look for some snow. So kind of keep that in mind there. Yeah, unfortunately, eastern Connecticut, southern Connecticut, not that much in the way of snow. Let's see, Lisa has a question here. Hope the weather gets warmer in Newington for the commute home. Yeah, definitely. And I think we're all in the same boat as you there, Lisa. But we will. So let's go. Let me pull up. Just being mindful of the time here. Let's pull up future radar again. So to Lisa's point here, hoping for some clearing conditions. So let's walk you through. Here's the evening commute there. So places like Newington and really anywhere south of Hartford at this point, by 4 or 5 o'clock, we're going to try to warm above freezing. It might be tough. So the model might be underdoing that cold air damming from Hartford to Enfield. So if you have to travel 91 later on tonight, be aware of the potential for some slippery spots still. I think it might be a little challenging to warm up, but it is still only about 1:49. So we still have some time to do some of that warming. Now, later on this evening, we get closer to the evening, the back side of the evening commute there. So 6:30 tonight, still snowing in northwestern Connecticut. Meanwhile, you go to Windham, Willimantic, Killingly, Norwich, Groton. The shoreline is still wet with just plain old rainfall there. But later on tonight, we're going to cool down those temperatures. So if there are a few straggling showers, we might see a few snowflakes by the end of this, maybe a little burst by about midnight to 3 a.m. And then we're clearing out those skies as we go through the day tomorrow. So we're actually expecting temperatures to be back to the mid 30s. Now, we had a couple folks on here kind of mention that potential for some freezing conditions by the morning. So I want to show you guys, and I'm going to make this full screen so everyone can see, make it a little bit easier to see for you guys at home. This is looking at our future temperatures as we go through tonight. So this is roughly 3 o'clock. Notice Hartford temperatures about 33. So that potential for us to be near freezing in some slick spots for the evening commute, definitely a real possibility. Now, watch what happens by 7 a.m. We cool all the way down to the 20s, not only for the Hartford area and northwestern Connecticut, but look at Chester, Meriden, Middletown, New Haven, and Bridgeport at 31 degrees. So there will be the potential for some slick spots as we head through tomorrow morning. So that potential for black ice is definitely there for us. So we'll keep an eye on that as we go through the overnight period as well. And Alex has another question here. Are you still forecasting a changeover along the Massachusetts border, East Granby through Enfield? So I definitely think there is going to be that possibility. Let me go back to a look at the radar here. Just kind of talking about what we've seen so far, what we're looking at right now. And we actually can see, at least with the radar data showing, that there's already been a little bit of a change there in the Enfield area. So I would imagine this line creeps further north, but there is some cold air that's locked in place. So, it might be challenging to change over all the way for places maybe closer to Barkhamsted and then further off to Colebrook, Norfolk, and then Salisbury. You guys might hang on to that snow just a little bit longer or altogether. So still something to think about. Sandra says it's snowing good in Torrington and the roads are pretty bad. So there you go. Make sure you're taking some extra time if you have to head out and you're in that part of the state. I know you guys in Northwestern Connecticut, you guys are used to dealing with more snow than the rest of us. So you guys are a little bit more seasoned to it. But if you have to be kind of out and about, just make sure you're going a little bit slow. We saw that tractor trailer crash on 84. We'll have to see, the official reason for what happened there, but take it slow on the roadways. Leave plenty of space in between you, the vehicle in front of you. So even if you're driving safe, if they have to slam on their brakes for whatever reason, you want to make sure that you have enough distance where you can stop if you need to. So just keep that in mind too. We have another comment here from Ann. So it's so bad in Windsor, cars are stuck on Route 159 hill because they can't get up, and the kids have to, and our kids about to get on the buses. So we'll be turning rain for the Windsor area. And just kind of echoing what I've said so far, let's go back to those temperatures. For Windsor itself, it might be one of those situations where the cold air damming wins out. Windsor locks is at 28. Windsor is 30. Now, we still have some time to warm up, but it's looking like it could be a little challenging to do that. So I would lead more on the side of caution, having that potential for a little bit more in the way of a freezing rain event. Not event for us, but just some potential for a little bit more icing there. I don't want to say a freezing rain event because we're not expecting, much in the way of accumulation there, but enough to make things slick, if you will, going through this evening. So just use a little bit more caution as you're heading out there on the roadways. I just want to make sure I'm not missing anyone. Ed so we have a few inches in Torrington. What's the timeline for the freeze? Having to work later on tonight. So most of the precipitation is out of here after dinner time. So when we get past about 7 o'clock tonight, I'm thinking much of the roads are going to start to improve because we're not going to have anything falling from the sky, but it can still definitely be slick for us just with those temperatures that are expected to fall a little bit there. So we'll keep that in mind as we go through this evening as well. Just want to make sure I didn't miss anyone else. Other stations are trying to push for the rain. Yeah, so I mean, the rain is mainly for, southern Connecticut, eastern sections of the state. We were talking about it yesterday, that potential for some black ice by Wednesday morning, but I've always a little, it's so hard for this time of year. It's early. It's the second day of December. It's not the second day of January. So it can be a little bit more difficult to get cold air damming this time of year. It's not impossible, but is something that we see a little bit later on. So it was in the back of my head yesterday that we could end up seeing some cooler pockets of air just kind of hang in there. It looks like that is panned out for the 91 quarter north of Hartford. So just kind of exercise a little bit more caution in that area of the state, and maybe even a little bit further west as you get into the Farmington Valley, a little bit more there. Those typical valleys that, hold on to that cold air a little bit longer. I think that's where we have that chance for a little bit more of a mess, but still the models are trying to indicate a full changeover to rain. It might be tough for some spots of the state, but if you're in eastern Connecticut and you're not in Union, Stafford, Crystal Lake, Summers, it might end up switching fully over to rain for you guys. Crystal Lake is usually one of those spots right up there by the lake itself. You can be driving on, I think that's 32 there, and you go from rain to all of a sudden you're at the lake and it's just snow everywhere. So just kind of keep that in mind. Those little spots around your neck of the woods there. Let's go to eastern Connecticut really quick, what you guys are seeing there. So radar's indicating that we do have some just plain old rain. So Chaplin there, Killingly, Plainfield, Wyndham, Willimantic, seeing that changeover. Hebron to Franklin, maybe trying to hang on to a little bit of a mix, but you get to northwestern Connecticut and it's all blue on the map. So that's what we've noticed so far today. And if that cold air just stays locked in place, you guys just might be stuck with the snow all day. So let me know how much snow you guys are seeing. And if you're able to take some photos, we'd love to show them. Of course, we're going to be doing breakouts tonight, starting on the news at 4 o'clock. I'm going to be talking about that icing potential a little bit more in depth as we go through tonight. So if you see me out and about on the roads later on tonight, we'll be doing some live shots. Come say hi. We'd love to say hi to you guys. Steve is in for Ryan tonight, so he's going to have much more on the forecast as well as we go through tonight. So he's going to have more updates for you, and he'll be making some updates to that 10-day forecast, because not only will we have to worry about the mess and then the cold air tonight, but there's going to be a huge burst of cold air by the end of the week. I'll tease the 10-day forecast for you guys just a little bit, and I'll answer a couple more. I see a few more questions popping in here on the stream. So this will switch over here in just a sec to the 10-day forecast. How are you guys feeling about cold air? How about Friday? 27 degrees Friday afternoon. A mix of sunshine and clouds, that's good, but look at those morning temperatures. Friday morning, 8 degrees in the Hartford area. That is cold air, so get ready for it, because winter is making a comeback here for that first week of December. Not anything out of the ordinary for us, but it's always that first couple rounds of winter weather that always gets everybody's attention there. So 27 Friday, 8 Friday morning, and even teens and 20s for the weekend morning days there. So Saturday morning, Sunday morning, chilly, and then mid-30s. There could be a few more snow showers on Thursday, probably not adding up to much. And then we'll have to keep an eye on Saturday. Some models are, kind of tossing out those chances. Others keep it into the mix, so something to keep an eye on. And then we kind of hold into that winter-like pattern moving through next week. So that is what we'll keep an eye on. We'll stay busy today, tonight. Calmer tomorrow, but there will be some slippier conditions at times. And then we'll be back to some cold weather by the end of the week there. So driving home to Trumbull from Wilton this afternoon around 5:30, will the weather be difficult? So I think you guys, so Trumbull for southern areas of the state, if you're along the shoreline, guys, if you're about a 15-minute drive to 95, I think you guys are going to be in decent shape for tonight as far as the rain goes. However, I will say that as we go through tonight and then by tomorrow morning, any roads that are still wet by the morning, they will have that potential to ice up, even for places along 95. So if you are driving home tonight, if you're planning to be home and you're along the shoreline, you should be okay for tonight's commute. I think the slippier conditions will likely range from more or less the Waterbury area stretched along 84 and maybe even up through the Manchester or Vernon area. So that kind of stretch of highway and then stretching north on 91 could be a little bit slick. Of course, the snowy conditions that are in northwestern Connecticut, that will, as usual, cause a little bit difficulty driving conditions there. So you always get that snow potential to coat things up. Wallingford, Heather, I see your question here. Same situation for us. You're a little bit further south, so likely seeing more rain by this afternoon. And then Sherry just came from Danbury to West Hartford, 4 accidents, still about 31 degrees, that car thermometer there. So yeah, we're hovering right around that freezing point. So it will be tough. I think it's going to be tough for Hartford to get above 35 today. I think that's going to be a little bit difficult there. We'll see if we can get some warmer to kind of move right in. Hopefully we can, because that will eliminate that icing threat. But then as we move through tonight, any grounds that are still wet could definitely still coat things up a little bit for us. I think I've answered everybody's questions. Let me just double check, because this thing tends to reshuffle the questions a little bit. But if I missed any of your questions, you guys can always find me on social media. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. You can find me on TikTok as well. YouTube, another channel to find me on. So make sure to give me a follow there. We'll have more updates. I'll have more updates live from, still got to figure out where I'm going for my live shot today, but we'll likely be wherever we have that icing potential for tonight. So we'll keep you posted there. Of course, if you guys have more questions, always feel free to shoot me a message, whether that's social media or you can send me an email. I still get my email too. So keep that in mind. Moving through tonight, we'll have still some wet and then potentially slippery conditions by the morning. But I'm going to have to get going. I have to get out to my live shot, and we're going to get ready for the news coming up at 4 o'clock. Again, that will be myself. Steve Glazier is in tonight as well. We'll have more updates for you guys as we go through this evening. Really quick, I saw one more question come through. Eric says, should I shovel the driveway now or wait there in the Plymouth area? I would say wait. I would say wait just a little bit more. If you can end up getting a little bit of rain, that will actually end up, of course, melting it away. I would shovel in salt. We're not getting a ton of snow, guys. I mean, for me personally, what's the difference between shoveling an inch of snow versus, 1.5 or 2 inches of snow? So I would wait until a little bit later on tonight if you're trying to shovel and then get your ice melt down, because if you put your ice melt down now, it's just going to get washed away. So that's my personal recommendation. I don't want to go out there. No one wants to go out and shovel twice. So I would wait just a little bit longer and kind of go from there. But I have to get going. Thank you guys so much for all the questions. Really appreciate that. If you guys have any photos of what you guys are seeing in your neck of the woods, you can send them to us. In fact, I can pull up where you can send them to. This second load. So you can send them. Let me just clear this out of the way. So this is where you can send them to us. Share it at nbcconnecticut.com, or anytime that you post on social media. So if you post on Facebook or Instagram and you want to tag us, you can tag NBC Connecticut, or you can tag any of the meteorologists. So if you tag myself or Steve, we'll see those photos and we'll use your photos that way as well. So any kind of photos that you want to share, any video, if you guys are out enjoying the day, if you're in northwestern Connecticut, there's a lot of snow, or if you're seeing some ice, let us know what you're seeing out there. That helps us out in a big way. So thanks so much for watching this update, everyone. We're going to be live with more updates later on this afternoon. Thanks so much, guys. Have a great day.